Hi everybody, good evening. I hope I'm audible and visible. I hope I'm audible and visible. If I'm audible and visible, do let me know in the comment section. Welcome everyone. Hello, I'm 𝐿𝑀 𝐷𝗀𝗂𝗏 and I welcome you to your Inference 3 class on our official YouTube channel, CLAT Preparation by ADDA. Right, and I really hope I'm audible. Do let me know if you have any problem hearing. Okay. So without much ado, let's start today's session. We've already done inferences twice on our YouTube channel, right? Today I've tried to make sure that the passage is even longer that you learnt in the previous two sessions, right? However, to make sure that you guys can practice this question, what I've done is I've made sure कि मैंने Telegram channel के ऊपर inferences के ये particular question के कुछ और questions बनाए हैं that you guys can go and download the file and simply try and practice. And if you come across any difficulty, you know where to message me. You can message me on my email, right? And inferences 3 के question start करते हैं. The first question is on your screen, everybody. I'll stay out of the screen. And you guys have to tell me the answer. Hello everybody. Hi Shraddha. Hi Basmeet. Hello Kanika, then we have Akshat. Hi Jasdeep. Hello. I'm doing well. Thank you so much, guys. Cities across the world are struggling to balance the demand for personal mobility with the need to reduce pollution. Okay. For decades, policymakers focused mainly on expanding road networks to accommodate more vehicles. This approach initially reduced congestion but soon encouraged more people to buy cars. As a result, traffic levels returned to previous highs, often exceeding them. Public transport system meanwhile received less investment and gradually became overcrowded and unreliable. In recent years, several cities have attempted to reverse this trend by promoting cycling and walking. However, these initiatives have faced resistance from the commuters who view them as inconvenient or unsafe. Businesses have also expressed concern that reduced road space might affect customer access. Despite these objections, studies suggest that cities with strong public transport and pedestrian infrastructure experience better air quality and higher overall productivity. The challenge, therefore, is not merely technical but political. Any lasting solution must persuade citizens that short-term inconvenience can lead to a long-term collective benefit. Okay. So which of the following can be most reasonably inferred from the passage? I think the option A, when we look at option A, it says expanding road networks permanently solves. So clearly it does not solve permanently the solution, right? Public resistance is the main technical barrier to improving urban transport. Is it the main barrier? Is it the main technical barrier? Not exactly. The challenge basically was not merely technical but political as well. So there were challenges from the consumers as well. The public resistance was there. However, it is not the main technical barrier to improve the urban transport. Policies encouraging non-car transport face both political and social challenges, right? Policies encouraging non-car transport face both political and social challenges. Yes, Politically, we can infer that from this particular sentence. And social challenges clearly are the people who find it inconvenient or unsafe, right? So whatever policies are encouraging non-car transport, people are kind of against it. So there is a social challenge and then political challenge as well. So option C could be your answer. Let's understand why not D. Businesses benefit the most from reduced road space in the cities is clearly wrong. Fine. So let's move to the next question. Let's move to the next question. Very good, guys. Of course, it's Kanika, right? I hope it is Kanika, right? अगर गलत बोल दिया तो I'm sorry. मेरे हिसाब से तो वही था. Okay. Standardized testing was introduced with the aim of creating an objective method to compare student performance across regions. Supporters argue that such texts promote accountability and reveal gaps in the education system. Critics, however, claim that excessive focus on test score narrows the curriculum and discourages creative teaching methods. In many schools, teachers feel pressure to teach the test rather than explore the topics in depth. This pressure is particularly strong in underfunded institutions where the test results often determine the future funding. Ironically, this system can end up punishing the very schools that need the most support. Some education researchers suggest that replacing high-stake tests with continuous assessment methods, yet these alternatives are harder to standardize and may introduce new form of bias. The debate, therefore, is not about whether the evaluation is necessary, but about what kind of evaluation best serves students. Any reform must balance fairness, flexibility, and reliability. So, the passage most strongly suggests that the main problem with high-stakes testing is that it eliminates the need for any other form of assessment. No, it clearly requires a need, right? That it makes teacher completely ignore they cannot completely ignore the curriculum because they still have to teach the test, right? So we cannot say option C is our answer. Maybe the main problem with high-stake testing is that it is impossible to replace with any alternative system. No, it clearly told me that you can replace it with continuous assessment. So option B is going to be your answer. That disproportionately harms the school that are already under-resourced, right? So when you go with the high-stake testing, it is going to disproportionately harm the school that are already under-resourced. So ironically wala jo sentence tha yahan pe, that gives us the idea about this particular inference, right? Brilliant everybody. Abhi tak aap logo ka bahut accuracy level 100% पे चल रहा है. Let's go and maintain this for the next question as well. The rapid growth of digital platforms has transformed how people communicate, shop, and access information. In exchange for convenience, users often share vast amount of personal data, sometimes without fully realizing it. Companies argue that data collection allows them to improve services and personalize user experience. However, repeated data breaches have raised concerns about how securely this information is stored. Governments too have shown increasing interest in accessing digital data for reasons ranging from national security to public health. This has led to fears that surveillance may become normalized in everyday life. While some citizens accept this trade-off as inevitable, others see it as gradual erosion of personal freedom. Legal frameworks have struggled to keep pace with the technological change. Regulations are often either outdated or inconsistently enforced across jurisdictions. The central question is no longer whether privacy matters, but how it can be protected in a digital economy that thrives on information. Which inference best follows from the author's discussion? क्या बात है guys, क्या बात है. Okay, fair enough. So when I say people no longer care about privacy is wrong, there's a section of people who still cares, right? They are seeing it as gradual erosion. So first one is obviously wrong. The legal system have fully adapted to technological change. No, this is clearly not the answer. It clearly mentions that they could not adapt to, right, pace with the technological change, right? Data-driven business models make privacy protection increasingly complex. Yes, because by the time regulations are there, regulations are often either outdated or inconsistently enforced. Okay? So that means clearly privacy protection is becoming increasingly complex, and clearly they have mentioned us in a digital economy. So that means we're talking about data-driven business models as well. Right? So government access to data is always justified by public interest is wrong. So option C would be your answer. Option C would be your answer. Okay. Next question, everybody. I only created 5. I thought you guys are going to take time. But what I've realized is that you did not take time. You already have improved your speed. Conservation projects are frequently presented as universally beneficial, yet their impact on local communities is often complex. In several regions, protected areas have restricted traditional livelihoods such as fishing, grazing, or small-scale farming. Supporters of strict conservation measures argue that these sacrifices are necessary to preserve fragile ecosystems. They also point out that long-term environmental damage could ultimately harm local populations the most. Opponents of what? Supporters of strict conservation measures. So opponents would be the opponents of strict conservation measures, hai na? However, opponents contend that the conservation policies are sometimes designed without sufficient consultation. When people are excluded from decision making, they may view environmental rules as opposed than share responsibilities. Good one. This can lead to resistance and in some cases to illegal exploitation of resources. Successful conservation efforts, according to the recent studies, tend to involve local communities as partners rather than obstacles. Such approaches may not produce immediate results, but they often create more sustainable outcomes. The real difficulty lies in balancing ecological priorities with social justice, right? The author would most likely agree that conservation efforts succeed when they... Okay. We have a different answer. Okay. So I think the author would most likely agree that conservation efforts succeed when they strictly prioritize ecological goals over social concerns. No. He clearly says that it should be balanced. So option A could not be our answer. That conservation efforts succeed when they are enforced through penalties and restrictions alone. Clearly not. This is not the author. This is not something that author would agree. He clearly says that you need to make sure that there is social justice, right? They involve local communities in decision-making processes. Do I have any portion of the question which mentions this directly? So, I think yahan pe, if you see, so successful conservation efforts, according to the recent studies, tend to involve local communities as partners rather than obstacles. So, this one is something that author is going to agree with, right? But let's go and check the other one. Produce immediate and visible environmental improvements. Sorry, produce immediate and visible environmental improvements. You are saying that author would most likely agree that conservation efforts succeed when they produce immediate and visible. Do you think author is going to agree with this? Just take a look. Just take a look. When you go back, if you read this sentence, such approaches may not produce immediate results. They may not produce immediate results, but they often create more sustainable outcomes. So author clearly says, when you make the local people as your partners and you do not see them as obstacles, you might not see the immediate results, but it is going to create more sustainable outcomes. In the future, you're going to look at these outcomes as sustainable ones. So clearly option C should be your answer. Shall I repeat this again? Shraddha, Basmeet, Akshat. Hi Anshika. Very good, Shruti. Shall I repeat this again? Shall I repeat this again? Or did you understand it? I'm sure you guys got it. Akshat and Basmeet and Shraddha, I think. You don't need me to repeat. So I'll just summarize this. The question clearly is asking me that the author would most likely agree. So what do you understand from this passage? The passage clearly says that the conservation projects are frequently presented as universally beneficial, yet their impact on local community is often complex. The starting of the passage clearly explains that author is trying to create a link between the local communities as well as the conservation projects. By the end of the passage, you realize that author is explaining that what leads to resistance is not the efforts, but actually when you do not make the local people as a decision making part of your policy. So clearly the author would agree if you involve local communities in decision making processes, right? And when I say that immediate and sorry, just give me a second. Just read this sentence again for those people who said option B. The author would most likely agree that conservation efforts succeed when they produce immediate and visible environmental improvements. No, the author clearly says that he would want approaches, he would like the approaches which may not be immediately providing the results, which may not produce immediate results. So that is why option D is not your answer. Okay, fine. So Basmeet got it, Kanika got it, Akshat got it, Shraddha, I hope you have understood it now. I really hope this is clear, right? So instead of giving you a direct word like what would be the inference, they asked you the author would most likely agree, right? So what do you mean? What author would most likely agree? So you are basically going with the meaning of the passage, which is basically the inference. Take care. Brilliant, guys. Brilliant. Very good. And it is okay to make a mistake. It is perfectly fine as long as you learn from it. Okay, so this is the last question for today's class, right? And I am going to give you these questions as well as 10 more questions in my Telegram group to practice, right? I'm repeating that. So when you go to my Telegram group, Logical Reasoning with Ruhindi Ma'am, you'll see this file within like, after the class ends, within like 20-30 minutes. And then you guys can solve these questions and let me know if you have any doubt. The modern workplace is undergoing rapid transformation due to automation and remote working technologies. Tasks that once required large number of employees can now be performed by a small teams supported by software. Okay, I think I missed the last line. I'm sorry. The modern workplace is undergoing rapid transformation due to automation and remote working technologies. Tasks that required large number of employees can now be performed by small team supported by software. This has increased efficiency, but it also created anxiety about job security. Many workers fear that their skills may soon become obsolete. In response, some companies have invested in retaining programs, not retaining, retraining programs, right, to help employees adapt. However, these programs are not always accessible to those who need them the most. At the same time, remote work has blurred the boundary between professional and personal life. While some employees value the flexibility, the others struggle with the isolation and longer working hours. Policymakers are now debating how labor laws should respond to these changes. The future of work, it seems, will depend not only on technology, but on how societies choose to regulate and distribute its benefits. Which of the following is a reasonable inference from the passage? Very easy. As the passage was good, the passage was lengthy, but it is super easy, right? So can I say remote work benefits all employees equally? Clearly I cannot. Automation will eliminate the need for the labor laws? No. It will make sure that the labor laws are there in the place, right? It will lead to that kind of work life. Retraining programs have solved the problems of job displacement. It has clearly not, right? क्योंकि उन्होंने बोला है it not always is accessible to those who need them the most. So these three are wrong. By elimination method, the answer should be A, but let's check option A as well. Technological change creates both efficiency and new forms of insecurity. Clearly, the efficiency has increased. The lesser number of employees can do the work now with the help of software. But there is a new form of insecurity as well as with the increased efficiency. So that means option A would be your answer. ठीक है? Shraddha says, ma'am, it is A, but I am quite confused. Okay. Shraddha, first of all, by elimination method, you can get the answer, right? However, if you see the technological change creates both efficiency, it clearly is mentioned over here. This has increased efficiency. What has increased? The rapid transformation due to automation, right? And remote working technologies. Tasks that once required cannot be performed by supported by software. So it clearly mentions that technological change has created efficiency, right? But at the same time, it has also created anxiety about job security. So it has created new forms of security. It is very clearly mentioned in the passage. ठीक है? चलिए. So I hope this was fun for you all, and you guys can go on my Telegram group and we can, you have to solve these other questions of similar type, inferences, right, on in that file. And if you come across any difficulty, if you feel अच्छा ठीक है मैम सिर्फ YouTube से नहीं हो रहा है, question कम है, हमको क्लास में जाके सीखना है, what you can do is you can call on this number, which is 084489802447. और जब आप यहाँ पे फ़ोन करोगे you'll get the free counseling. And अगर तुमको लगता है कि तुमको डायरेक्टली कोई बात करनी है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, कोई डिस्कशन करनी है, you can always email me on my email, which is ruhindeep.kaur@adda247.com. ठीक है? चलो मिलते हैं जी अगली क्लास में. टिल देन प्लीज टेक केयर ऑफ योरसेल्फ. बाय बाय एवरीबॉडी. बाय गाइज.